Welcome to the Freak Show. Welcome to the Freak Show. Welcome to the Freak Show. This is episode 37. I'm here with my gorgeous husband, Sam. I'm here with my beautiful wife, Jacqueline. I'm Sam. Today, we are going to talk about our experience with waiting to have children. So we were married for 13 years before Roman came.
Yeah.
13 years before we had our son Roman.
Because we got married when I was a baby.
Yeah. Yeah. And we had been together for, I'm trying to do math, 15 years total.
Yeah.
So
14.
if he was,
we've been together 16 years now.
well,
we're doing
if he
public
came
math. This is hard.
At year 13 of our marriage, we had been together 15. We may be off by a year. I don't think people really care, but we're right around that time frame.
12, 13.
So yeah, so we waited a long time compared to a lot of people to have kids. So I think we just kind of talk about our experience and kind of because that was a, proactive choice. It wasn't, we weren't struggling to have children or anything like that. Thankfully, it was a choice to wait for a number of different reasons. So why do you
Well, you want me to share my perspective?
Yeah, but to round that out, I think we'll talk about what our experience has been, and kind of now looking back on that, what how we feel about it. The good, the bad, the ugly.
Well, highly recommend having kids.
Yeah.
But I would say one of the if you had asked me 5 years ago why we waited to have kids, I would have said it's because I have a lot of things that I want to accomplish before I have children, which was true. But the other very large component behind waiting to have kids was that I was scared. I grew up in a household where my mom initially worked, but then was a stay-at-home mom. Did it? Did you just knock my knee?
No,
I didn't know if that was a signal.
No.
Oh. Okay. But I grew up in a household where my mom was home with my brother and I, and she loved being a mom, loved being a mom. And my mom is and was an excellent mother. But I also know that she had a lot of dreams that she didn't fulfill because she was at home with us. And she never said that out loud or ever made us feel guilty about it. But I think growing up as a type A ambitious young woman, I thought I can either have kids or I can have a career or I can follow my dreams. And so my mindset around it wasn't a very balanced or healthy mindset. And I allowed that mindset to create a lot of fear. Like, if I have kids, I'm not going to be able to live the life that I want to live. I'm not going to be able to pursue my dreams. I'm not going to be able to build all these businesses. I'm not going to be able to travel like I want to travel, because traveling is just so integral to who I am and gaining inspiration. And it's a big, big part of my joy in life is traveling and adventure and doing things I haven't done before. And I was like, I'm not going to be able to do that with a kid. And so in my, I would say, early 30s, when we started to really have those conversations, because you felt ready to have kids, and correct me if I'm wrong, I felt so much fear that I dug my heels in and backtracked and would be like, I'll have kids in my late 30s. I'm not ready to talk about this right now. I don't even know if I want kids. So we had a lot of really tough conversations.
Yeah, and I was worried about that. Like, I didn't know if that was going to be a really, really major issue with us. I think the more time progressed, the more concerned I got. I mean, we got married when you were 24?
21.
Or
You were 24.
Oh, okay. You were only 21?
Oh, no. I was 23.
Yeah. Okay.
We met when I was 21,
Yeah.
got married when I was 23,
And
almost 24.
yeah, and I was 25, or I was 26, whatever. We were in our
24 or 25.
yeah 20s. So
Yeah, we
I
were young.
wasn't worried about it at that point, but
Once you reached your mid 30s, you were like, okay.
yeah, it progressively was much more concerning for me because I knew I wanted to have kids. I knew I wanted to have kids with you,
Yeah.
and I knew that if we didn't, that would be, or if we didn't at least try our best, that would be, I felt like a pretty gaping hole for us.
Yeah.
And I was really concerned that that would be, a very big issue for us.
Yeah. And
Um,
I was too, because I was digging in my heels.
yeah. No, I know you did. I know you did. I think in the back of my mind, I kind of knew that you would come around at some point, and I knew that you would love it because
Oh,
there's just,
yeah. Let me tell you how I love it now.
yeah. So, because there's just nothing like it. And
Nothing.
even though I hadn't experienced that, I knew that that would be the
And you
case.
knew me. You knew my
Right.
heart.
Yeah. And I knew that you would be an amazing mother because of who you are.
Thank you.
So, but so that was, I guess, relationally, that was something that I think was bubbling under the surface for a while with us.
Yeah. I thought we were going to have to do some marital counseling over it,
Yeah.
which I would have been willing to do. But then you knocked me up. No, it didn't exactly happen like that. But I remember a really pivotal moment for me because naively I hadn't thought about it like this. I don't know why, but I had not thought about it like this. We were driving in that Ford F-350. We were still living in the RV. We were in Cottonwood. We were on the highway, and you were exasperated and you looked at me and you were like, "Don't you want to have kids with me?"
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, in that moment, I was like, I have never, this is so selfish of me, but I've never thought about it from that perspective. And I've never thought about it from his perspective in that way.
Yeah.
I think I had always thought about it a little bit more clinically. Like, I'm going to have a child that I am supposed to take care of. I hadn't really thought about, I hadn't romanticized it and thought about, like, that's our little being. That's 50% me, 50% you. How cool. I hadn't allowed my brain to go to that point.
I think you had always thought, and sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
It's okay.
I think you had always thought of it from a limiting perspective.
Very much.
Yeah.
Very much. And for somebody like me who has spent so much time on personal development, that part of my personal development was very underdeveloped.
Yeah. And I think it's there. I believe that it's part of, just being a product of our time. I think that our generation, there was a much bigger push to, be
Wait.
go, to wait and go pursue other things. And again, like there's have been so many pros as a
Yeah.
result of that. This isn't
Mhm.
all negative. I think I'm very happy with how the decisions that we made and how things turned out. But at the same time, I think that there's good and bad in everything.
Well,
So I
and I
think
think
that
we should talk about that.
it
Yeah.
allowed, I'll say, women, um, and men, but women are the bearers of the children and the brunt of the responsibility, but gave women more what am I trying to social
Pressure?
yeah, there was less social pressure, and I think more of a push to say, hey, maybe you don't want kids, maybe you
Yeah.
don't want the traditional life, maybe you want to pursue these things. And I'm not
Hmm.
saying that any of that was wrong, but I think
But I think the pendulum swung
the
way too far.
pendulum swung, and it again, it put having children and having a and growing a family just in that frame, in a frame of
Lack.
lack. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I couldn't agree more. But that moment in the truck was pivotal for me when you vulnerably were like, "Don't you want to have kids with me?" And I was like, "Well, yeah,
Yeah. It was
I
like
do."
literally the coolest thing we could possibly do.
Yeah. And then I think 2 or 3 months later I was pregnant.
Yeah.
Um and I was 34, almost 35 when I got pregnant with Roman. So mid 30s, gave birth when I was 35. And becoming a mom is, I can't even describe the amount of joy. I had one of the hardest labors. I talked about it in my podcast, Self Worth with Jacqueline Steele. I don't want to rehash it here. It was so hard. But the moment he was put on my chest, I was like, when can I do this again?
Mm-hmm.
It changed my perspective so drastically and so dramatically and so deeply, instantly. Like a kind of love that if I talk about it much more, I'll just start crying because he is the joy of, both of you are the joy of my life. But he has added so much. I feel like I'm even more motivated now. I'm more focused. I have more to live for. I have more to fear in some ways too, because I have more to lose. But I wouldn't change it for the world.
There's more. There's
There's
not less.
more.
Yeah.
Yes. And all of those things that I was afraid we wouldn't be able to do, like me pursuing my dreams. Sam can attest to this. I pursue my dreams every single day,
Mm-hmm.
every single day. And traveling, I was so afraid about traveling. Since we've had Roman, we've been to Barcelona, we've been to Italy, we have been to, where else have we gone with him? We've traveled all over the United States with him too.
Mm-hmm.
Next month, we're going to Italy for 2 weeks with our son. So none of those fears that I had were really correct.
And I almost feel like things clicked even more and accelerated once we had him. Of course, it's a lot of time and energy taking care of a baby and everything and a kid, but there was something that clicked, and maybe it is the focus.
Yeah, you're
Because,
less focused on yourself.
yeah.
I think I was constantly swimming in my own thoughts, and not from a like self-absorbed way, but when you don't have somebody to care for constantly, it's much easier to become absorbed in your own mind and overthink things. And I'm so much happier having the focus not be me.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think that's a life hack in general
Oh,
is just making life less about you and
I
more
couldn't
about other
agree more.
people and it's, you know, the most joyful is for your children,
Yeah.
and your family. So,
So I think we should talk about the pros and cons of having a child in your mid 30s. Do you want me to go first?
sure.
I feel like mindset wise, I've just have so much more life experience. And so I'm able to impart more life experience. Sam and I have had significant, because we are entrepreneurs and we've been entrepreneurs for a long time, we have had significant financial risks and scares. Yet at the same time, we are more financially stable now than we have ever been. And I think the trajectory we're moving in, what we talked about in the last episode, in episode 36, like we are on the path to financial freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And so those are such big advantages because I have been able to work and I have been able to afford childcare. We have a nanny for him and we work from home. I'm able to see him throughout the day. There's barely any separation there. And I am able to, when we are with him, as long as I'm in the right mindset, be extremely present because we have what we need.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that that is a huge advantage. The wisdom part, the life experience part, the ability to be present and having a little bit more financial security. Those would be my pros.
Well, we had time to build. We had time to like build the foundation of the life we wanted.
Yeah. Yeah.
Versus doing that, had we done that year one of when we were married, we would have been busy. I would have still been working a 9 to 5 job, and who knows what, or still in the military because we would have felt a lot less risk averse
Yeah.
to making some of those big
Yeah.
decisions or steps that we made in that process. So, yeah, I think all of that you said, and I think one of the other really important ones is we had 15 years together to
Yeah.
build our relationship
Yeah.
and get to know each other and grow with each other from little 20-year-old babies,
Yeah. I
you
think
know,
it
and
was
go through
14
that.
years, but yeah, a long time.
Yeah, and go through everything that we went through together and do that together and really kind of, the longer you're together with someone, as long as you're intentionally growing together, you become one. So
Mm-hmm.
more and more that other person, and we became more and more aligned on
Everything.
everything. And so then I think having so much time to do that, along with the freedom to of our time in that process, but now we have had that period of time to become aligned, and then we bring a kid into that scenario. I think that it just was we were able to build a super strong foundation relationally,
Yeah.
you and I,
Mm-hmm.
before having another priority added
Yeah.
onto that.
I think that that is one of the primary reasons that we co-parent as well as we do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, now let's talk about some of the cons to waiting later. I would say cons for me are I had my first child at 35, and like I mentioned, when they put him on my chest, I was like, okay, how many more times can I do this? And I had to have a C-section at the end of laboring for 32 hours, and you have to, or at least for me, I had to allow that to heal for a year before we could even begin trying again. And then um, when Roman was a year old, we didn't feel quite ready yet. We had just bought a house. And then we bought Villa Secreta to redo, and it was just too much. And so when we did start trying again, I got pregnant quickly, but unfortunately had a miscarriage. And so I think the con for me now is when I am in a mindset that is not healthy, I go, did I wait too long? Am I going to be able to have another baby successfully, another healthy baby? Which I know that I am. I very much feel like I am. But there are those moments where I'm like, should I have just had multiple children, in my late 20s and had much more time in my childbearing years versus waiting toward the latter part.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like I'm out of time. I'm 38 years old. If you are 38 years old or older, I don't want you to listen to my voice and have that like tick in your spirit where you're like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. That is not what I'm saying. But I think at this point in my life, I need to be very intentional and not waste a bunch of time.
Well, it's a reality.
It's a
Like there's no
reality.
there's no reason to ignore that.
Yeah. And I know that there are people who are successfully having babies in their early to mid 40s. And so I think that that's amazing. I know that it's possible, but I certainly want to have another child.
Hmm.
And having a miscarriage was really hard.
Of
It
course.
was really hard. And I think it planted a seed of doubt. And so there has been a lot of opportunity for growth for me over the last few months since that has happened, to not allow that doubt and that fear to overtake me. There are moments when it does, but I would say for the most part, I am very confident that we will have another healthy child.
And I've shared this with you, and the way that I look at it that gives me peace is just like in anything. If you do your best and you try your best and it doesn't turn out the way that you thought it was going to turn out, then that's okay, because we have a beautiful, healthy son. We have a beautiful marriage. Our lives, we are extremely blessed. So we don't have to have anything else to be happy or to fulfill us. We
Yeah.
already have that. Of
Yeah.
course, we want it, but there doesn't need to be all this pressure, um, to have another child. We're definitely going to try, and we're going to do our best. And I am very confident that it'll happen, and I hope that it happens. But even if it doesn't, we have everything.
Yeah.
We really do.
And that
So
takes a lot of pressure off of me psychologically.
yeah,
I don't have that feeling that I would be disappointing you
yeah.
if that didn't happen, though it's not all me
Right, yeah,
either.
it's down to the swimmers in the first place, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know, it's just as much on me as well. So, but I again, like, there's no need to sacrifice the present and the blessings of the present, for fear of the future
Mhm.
or what the
Mhm.
future may or may not hold. Um so I think for me, it's, similar along those lines. I think sometimes I've thought like, man, it's like my friends that had kids in their 20s, or people I know that had kids in their 20s, they're going to be, in their kids are in high school or graduating high school or whatever it is. And now they're,
Empty nesters almost.
almost empty nesters, and they have all of this life in front of them. They get,
Mm.
they're going to have grandchildren, maybe great grandchildren, children, that whole thing. So I think, if we're talking about just those kind of thoughts, that's occurred to me. And just, having that whole second part of your life, after children, and all
Be
the
wide open.
benefits, yeah,
Mhm.
still be young and have all of that to look forward to after having the experience of raising kids, and then grandkids and that sort of thing. Not that we, are so old that we won't see
Yeah.
grandkids. I'm not saying that, but it's just, an extended period of time.
Well, statistically, women who have children later live longer.
I saw that Instagram reel as well. But so
I,
there's
I
that.
bet it's the same for men too.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
There's just so much to live for.
Yeah. And so there's that aspect. And then I think, how exactly what you said, like how many kids could we have? Like,
Mm-hmm.
it would have been cool or crazy, the good and bad with everything, but to have, a
Yeah.
house full
Part
of
of me is
kids.
like, I would love to have like 5 children, but
Yeah.
then the reality of what we want to accomplish and then add 5 kids in there, I feel like we would never have any downtime. And I don't know that
Yeah.
I'm ready for that.
Yeah. For this period of life. But then I think, down the road, if you have 4 or 5 kids out in the
It'd be
world,
fun.
yeah, that's,
We can always adopt too.
of course, yeah. So there's that aspect of it. But again, like, I kind of feel like go one at a time and see how it feels. So I kind of feel like 2 is the right number at this point in
Juncture.
time, because I mean, he's wearing me out. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
But
Well, my mom says that real men is like 3 children.
I'm glad she says that, because
Yeah, she said I was at least 2.
I could
Because
believe
my
that.
mom, well, and my mom is a good litmus test because she had me and then she had my brother. And she
Hmm.
said my brother had a lot of energy, but I was like off the walls. And
Yeah,
she said she thinks Roman is even more energy than I was.
yeah. So all that to say, the pros and the cons. I would say that I am so grateful for how it played out. I think it
Mm,
was all God's timing. I would have not wanted I would have not wanted to have kids at a period of time where you
weren't
didn't
ready.
weren't ready and didn't feel like you wanted that, and felt like, for whatever reason, it held you back from anything. So I'm
Thank you.
thankful, and we're blessed that Roman came along when he did. So I have no regrets.
No regrets. Yeah. And I would say that I already mentioned my only fear is that I want to have another child. But let's say I know that we're having another child, then I have zero regrets either because he is the coolest thing that has ever happened. And the timing of it was just, I felt mentally capable of handling a child.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and it'll be really cool to see him with a sibling or see that
yeah,
interaction,
I
I
think
think.
he's going to be sweet.
Yeah.
He is all
He'll be a little
boy.
buzz.
Yeah. He's
Yeah.
all boy, but at the same time, he'll like accidentally kick you and then be like, "Can I fix your boo-boo? I love you, mama. I
Yeah.
love you so much."
Or intentionally kick you or intentionally bite you.
And then, yeah. Want to fix it. So, anything that we missed in this, Sam? I think we cannot stress enough how much we love being parents. Certainly, it creates more to juggle and more to do, but the purpose in it is just hard to even put into words.
Yeah,
It
I
is
always think to
so
myself,
rewarding.
what else would I be doing or would I
Yeah.
rather be doing?
Yeah.
So
Nothing.
mhm.
He's just the joy of our lives.
Yeah.
As cliche as that sounds, it's absolutely true. And we have really beautiful lives. Okay. Do you want to leave the audience with a question?
Sure. How have you experienced divine timing in your own life decisions?
And why did you ask that question?
You stumped me because
No, we asked that because I got pregnant unexpectedly and in divine timing right when I feel like I should have gotten pregnant.
okay. I felt like
And
that
so
was
for people who are maybe planning children or other like major decisions, or they're, at a space where they are at a crossroads with some major decisions, think about how you've experienced divine timing in the past and maybe lean into that and sink into it and allow things to happen as they're meant to.
right. Even if it doesn't feel like it in the moment, looking
Yeah.
back on it.
And that's a challenge for myself too, because I want to have another child, but I have to trust that it's going to happen when it's supposed to. And that beautiful baby is going to come whenever God wants it to.
Yep.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for listening. We're so grateful for you. We're so grateful for your support. Check out the Freak app. Leave us a review if you are enjoying this podcast. And again, we just really appreciate you tuning in and hopefully tuning up. Live on purpose.
Live on frequency.
Thank you so much for listening to The Freak Show with Sam Thurmond and me, Jacqueline Steele Thurmond. We would love to connect with you via our website, beckonliving.com, and on social media.
You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Beck and Living, and you can join our email list to receive uplifting messages, podcast and business updates, and discounts on high-frequency products just for our freaky community.
Cheers to high frequency living.